They say it takes 21 days to form a habit, but what if I told you that in 21 days you could start becoming a completely new version of yourself? Not by changing who you are, but by unlocking the best parts of you that have been waiting all along. Everything begins with a single choice. Day one is not about doing 100 things differently, it's about making one firm, unshakable decision. I am going to change. This decision is the spark that lights the fire. Without it, no plan, no book, no coach, and no program can make a lasting difference. It's not just a passing thought or a moment of inspiration you feel after watching a motivational video. It's a commitment you plant deep inside yourself, one that you'll return to when the days get hard. Most people wait for the right time to start, when life feels calmer, when work slows down, when the kids are older, when the stars align. But here's the truth. The perfect time doesn't exist. If you're waiting for the moment to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Day one is powerful precisely because it often happens in the middle of the chaos, when everything else is telling you to delay. It's an act of courage to say, I'm starting now, not because it's easy, but because it matters. That decision is not about perfection, it's about direction. You don't have to know exactly how you'll get to your destination. You just need to decide that you're going there. Think of it like turning the wheel of a car. One small turn can completely change the road you end up on. The same applies to your life. One committed choice can shift the entire trajectory of who you become. And here's the secret. The decision isn't made once and forgotten. You'll make it again and again. Every morning when you wake up, every time you feel like quitting, every time doubt creeps in. Some days you'll feel unstoppable and the choice will come naturally. Oh, the days you'll have to drag yourself into it, reminding yourself why you began. But each time you choose to stick with it, you reinforce your commitment and strengthen your resolve. Making that day one decision also means burning the bridges to your old excuses. It means telling yourself, I'm no longer negotiating with my goals, I've chosen my path, and I'm walking it no matter what. It's easy to fall into the trap of half deciding, keeping one foot in your comfort zone while dipping the other into change. But real transformation happens when you stop giving yourself an exit strategy. You cut off the escape routes and commit to the journey ahead. So as day one begins, stand firm, write your decision down, say it out loud, tell someone you trust, anchor it in your mind in a way that feels unshakable. The action steps, the new habits, the discipline, they all come later, but they are powerless without this first moment of choice. Remember, your future self is built on what you decide today. And today you've decided to start. That single choice might just be the most important one of your life. When people think about change, they often imagine huge leaps, completely overhauling their diet overnight, waking up at 5 a.m. every day, or running 5 miles on the first try. But the truth is, lasting transformation doesn't usually come from dramatic one-time efforts. It comes from small, consistent actions that add up over time. These actions might seem insignificant in the moment, but like drops of water wearing away a stone, they reshape your life in ways you can't fully see until you look back. Small actions are powerful because they are doable. Anyone can drink 1 extra glass of water, take a 10-minute walk, write down 3 things they're grateful for, or read 5 pages of a book. These steps don't require massive energy or extraordinary willpower. They simply require consistency. And that's the secret. While motivation can fade, small actions are easier to repeat day after day, which means they're far more likely to stick. Think of it this way. If you improve just 1% every day, by the end of a year, you're not 365% better. You're over 37 times better, thanks to the compounding effect of consistent effort. It's like interest in a bank account, except here, the interest is paid in self-confidence, discipline, and progress. Each small action becomes an investment in the person you're becoming. The beauty of small actions is that they also build momentum. Doing something tiny makes it easier to do something bigger. If you commit to just putting on your running shoes, you might end up jogging for 10 minutes. If you commit to writing 1 sentence, you might end up finishing a page. The starting point matters more than the size of the first step because action generates motion and motion leads to progress. It's easy to underestimate these steps because they don't bring instant dramatic change. That's where many people go wrong. They dismiss the small wins and wait for something big to happen. But transformation is often invisible in the early stages. You might not see the benefits after 1 healthy meal or 1 night of better sleep, but those choices are quietly rewiring your habits and your mindset. There's also another advantage. Small actions are less intimidating. If you tell yourself you have to completely reinvent your life overnight, your brain will resist. But if you tell yourself you just have to do one push-up, make your bed, or drink a bottle of water, your brain says, I can do that. Over time, these micro-commitments stack up into major change without overwhelming you. So instead of chasing a giant, unsustainable leap, start stacking small actions. They'll teach you discipline without burnout, resilience without fear, and change without chaos. Eventually, those small actions will lead to big impact, not because they were flashy, but because they were steady. The person you become in 21 days and beyond will be built not by grand gestures, but by simple daily choices that quietly transform your life from the inside out. The way you talk to yourself is the most constant conversation you will ever have, and it shapes the way you see the world and your place in it. Every day your mind is narrating your experiences, labeling your abilities, and setting limits, or removing them. Yet many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to a friend. They criticize, belittle, and doubt themselves without realizing the damage those words cause. That's why rewriting your self-talk is one of the most powerful steps toward becoming the new you. Your brain believes what you repeatedly tell it. If you constantly say, I'm bad at this, or I'll never change, your mind starts to accept those statements as truth and behaves accordingly. It's not magic, it's wiring. The thoughts you feed yourself become the instructions your brain follows. If you want a different outcome, you need to give your mind a different script. This doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is perfect or adopt unrealistic affirmations you don't believe. It's about replacing self-defeating language with words that encourage growth. Instead of, I can't do this, try, I'm learning how to do this. Instead of, I'm a failure, say, I'm still figuring it out. These subtle shifts matter because they move you from a fixed mindset where your abilities are seen as unchangeable to a growth mindset where challenges are opportunities instead of threats. The change starts with awareness. Begin to notice the tone and content of your inner voice. When you make a mistake, do you instantly attack yourself? When you face something new, do you predict failure before you even start? These patterns often run on autopilot, so you have to pause and catch them in the act. Once you do, you can challenge them and rewrite them in ways that build you up instead of breaking you down. Another powerful approach is to speak to yourself like you would to someone you deeply care about. If a friend was struggling, you'd offer support, encouragement, and perspective, not harsh judgment. Imagine offering yourself that same kindness. This isn't self-indulgence. It's training your mind to be your ally instead of your enemy. Rewriting your self-talk also means celebrating your progress, no matter how small. If you walked for 5 minutes, acknowledge it. If you resisted an old habit once today, give yourself credit. Your brain thrives on recognition, and every time you acknowledge progress, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of change. Over time, these new patterns of self-talk create a ripple effect. They influence your confidence, your choices, and even the risks you're willing to take. You start to approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear. You begin to see yourself not as someone stuck in old patterns, but as someone evolving every day. And that's the point. You are not just changing your words, you're changing your identity one sentence at a time. Motivation is exciting. It's the spark that makes you want to leap out of bed and conquer the world. But here's the problem. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days it's sunny and you feel unstoppable. Other days it's stormy, and the last thing you want to do is stick to your commitments. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is the anchor that keeps you moving forward when motivation drifts away. Think about the things you do every day without question. Brushing your teeth, locking the door, charging your phone. You don't wait to feel motivated to do them. You just do them because they're part of who you are. That's what discipline is, the ability to act according to your values and goals, regardless of your emotional state. While motivation is fueled by feelings, discipline is powered by decisions. Relying on motivation alone sets you up for inconsistency. You'll feel excited at first, but the moment the excitement fades, your progress stalls. Discipline removes that dependency. When you train yourself to act out of commitment rather than inspiration, you create a steady, unshakable rhythm. This rhythm is what builds lasting change. Not occasional bursts of effort, but a consistent pace that carries you forward day after day. Discipline also simplifies decision-making. When something is part of your routine, you no longer waste mental energy debating whether you should do it. You've already decided. For example, if you've committed to walking every morning at 7 a.m., It's not a question of, should I walk today? It's simply, it's time to walk. The more you automate positive behaviors, the less room there is for procrastination and excuses. The beautiful thing is that discipline grows stronger the more you use it. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, even unnatural, but every time you follow through despite feeling tired, busy, or unmotivated, you're building resilience. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things even when you don't feel like it. Over time, what once felt like a chore becomes part of your identity. And here's the twist. Discipline doesn't just keep you going. It often rekindles motivation. On the days when you start out dragging your feet, you'll notice that once you begin, the energy and enthusiasm follow. Action can create motivation just as much as motivation can create action. So instead of chasing the fleeting high of motivation, focus on building the steady strength of discipline. Set clear rules for yourself, keep your promises, and treat your goals like non-negotiable appointments. Motivation might start the journey, but discipline is the vehicle that gets you to your destination. And when the 21 days are over, you won't just have new habits. You'll have the inner strength to keep going, no matter how the weather changes in your mind. One of the most overlooked parts of transformation is learning to track and celebrate your progress. Too often, people focus only on how far they still have to go and forget to acknowledge how far they've already come. But without proof that your efforts are paying off, it's easy to lose momentum. Tracking your progress keeps you grounded in reality and reminds you that change is happening, even if it's not yet dramatic or visible to everyone else. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as writing down what you did each day, keeping a habit checklist, or taking a photo every week. These small records act as snapshots of your journey, and over time they tell a powerful story. On days when you feel like nothing is working, you can look back and see the evidence. The workouts you completed, the pages you read, the meals you cooked, the moments you pushed through resistance. That record isn't just data, it's proof that you're capable of consistency. Celebrating progress is just as important as tracking it. When you acknowledge your wins, you create a positive feedback loop. Your brain loves rewards, and even small celebrations send the message, this is worth continuing. That doesn't mean you need to throw a party every time you take a walk. A celebration can be as simple as pausing to appreciate your effort, telling yourself, I'm proud of me, or marking your calendar with a gold star. The point is to recognize that you're doing something valuable and worth repeating. Celebration also helps fight the all-or-nothing mindset. Without it, you might dismiss your effort just because it wasn't perfect. Maybe you missed a day or didn't hit your full target, but you still showed up more often than before. Progress is rarely a straight line, and learning to celebrate improvement instead of perfection keeps you motivated through the inevitable ups and downs. So another benefit is that tracking and celebrating make change more tangible. When you're building new habits, the results can be slow to show in the mirror or on the scale. But a streak of check marks, a journal full of entries, or a series of weekly photos can reveal patterns and growth you might otherwise miss. It's like watching a plant grow. You don't notice it in a single day, but if you look at a picture from a month ago, the difference is obvious. Ultimately, progress is what builds confidence. Every milestone, no matter how small, is proof that you're becoming the kind of person who follows through. And when you start seeing yourself that way, your actions naturally align with that identity. That's why tracking and celebrating aren't just nice extras. They're essential tools for sustaining change. They remind you that you're not starting over every day. You're building on a foundation that's already in place. And with each recorded step forward, the new you becomes less of a dream and more of a reality. When you start a 21-day journey of change, it's tempting to see the end as the finish line, the moment you can relax and say, I made it. But real transformation isn't about reaching a short-term goal. It's about building a lifestyle that lasts. The 21 days are important, but they're just the launch pad. What truly matters is what happens when the countdown ends. If you treat day 22 as the end of the road, you risk slipping back into old patterns. If you treat it as the beginning of a longer journey, you set yourself up for lasting success. The real value of those 21 days isn't just the habits you start, it's the mindset you develop. You've proven to yourself that you can show up, take consistent action, and make changes even when it's uncomfortable. That's the foundation you'll carry forward. The routines you built during this time are seeds. Some may already be sprouting into visible results, while others will need more time and care before you see their full growth. Either way, your job after 21 days is to keep nurturing them. Thinking beyond the 21 days also means understanding that progress doesn't stop because a program or challenge is over. The skills you've developed, discipline, self-awareness, consistency, are tools you can use in every area of your life. If you've built a daily habit of walking, maybe now you start running. If you've improved your self-talk, maybe now you work on how you speak to others. Each step forward opens the door to the next one. It's also important to remember that life will test you after the initial momentum fades. The excitement you felt on day 1 might not be there on day 30 or day 100. That's why you need to have a clear vision of the bigger picture. Ask yourself, who do I want to be a year from now, 5 years from now? The 21 days were about getting started, but your vision is what keeps you going when there's no deadline or finish line in sight. And here's the most powerful part. When you think beyond the 21 days, you start to see that there's no old you to go back to. You've learned things you can't unlearn. You've experienced the pride of following through, and you've seen what's possible when you commit. Even if you face setbacks, you'll never truly start from zero again because you're carrying the lessons and strength you've built along the way. So as you step into day 22 and beyond, don't see it as the end of a challenge. See it as the continuation of a new way of living. Keep refining your habits, setting new goals, and challenging yourself to grow. The new you isn't just for 21 days, it's for life. And the longer you live with that mindset, the more you'll realize that this journey has no expiration date, only new levels to reach. Ask ChatGPT.